Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by James W. Ramsey from Aletheia Marriage Counseling Services. Welcome back. How are you today?
Doing fine. It's good to be here.
Same here. You're based out of, is it Sealy Lake, Montana?
Yep.
How's the weather?
It's cool, but nice and sunny and beautiful clouds. The lake isn't iced over yet, so that's good.
Oh, we're like in the 30s here in New York. It was like 19 degrees this morning, and now it's like 40. So, wow. Well, great to
Yeah.
have you back. You've been helping couples, families, individuals for decades. Would you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do to start? Thank you so much.
Well, I've been with the Gottman Institute now for about 20 years, and we're involved in research-based marriage counseling, trying to help people to understand exactly what are the problems and what to do about them. It's nice to know what's going on. Typically, in the old style, before we had the research, clients would walk into the office and start talking about their fights.
Yeah.
Now we have right off the bat, as we get acquainted, we talk about taking the inventory for the Gottman Institute that shows where their strengths and weaknesses are. And so we have a diagnosis to start with and a treatment plan, and then we end up with a big intensive weekend. So it's much, much more effective than it ever was before.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much. We're excited to have you back as always. Great knowledge, great information. Do you want to share how we can reach out to you?
I think the simplest way is just to call me. I find that a lot of people don't use their phones much anymore. But the simplest way is just call me on 406-370-3515. If you like to go to the texting, you just go Jim Ramsey, MT as in Montana, at gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for today, I know we've been talking the past 2 months, so we're going to kind of summarize a little bit. But there's this man, John Gottman, that you originally brought up, taught me about. And people here might say, who's John Gottman? So tell us a little bit about who he is and all his years of research and what he's helped so many couples with.
I think the big thing that John Gottman has done, as he has come to the whole issue from a very, very different perspective. He wasn't a therapist. He was a research scientist in his mid-40s. And he and his buddy, Bob Levinson, who was also in his 40s, were research scientists, both of them very well known, over 100 papers each. They're having lunch together, and John says to Bob, he says, I don't want to study animals anymore. And Bob said, what do you
What?
mean? What do you want to study? Well, I want to study people. He said, well, what's that all about? Well, he said, I'm in my mid-40s, for Pete's sake, and I've got a girlfriend. I'd like to get married. I don't like the numbers. I don't like the 50%
Yeah.
divorce rate. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And so they got to talking. They decided to start the Gottman Institute and research couples
Wow.
and find out what causes divorce, why marriages succeed or fail. 35 years with 3,000 couples. And now, 10 years later, we have all this data, books, and all kinds of things now. It's the gold standard for marriage therapy in the world.
Amazing. Amazing. And so you know all the ins and out and the secrets, right?
Well, I've been trained in everything they have. I'm one of the certified therapists, and there's not too many of those. So, yeah,
Interesting. Well,
I
thank
train
you for
other
sharing.
therapists.
Well, and by the way, where was John Gottman from? Just curious.
Seattle. The Institute's out of Seattle.
Oh, all
Where Bill's
right.
from. Yeah.
And clearly that's who you studied under, right? And so you're
Mhm.
telling me these seven principles haven't really changed, right? So we're going to go over some of them to talk about today. And where are we starting? I'm assuming principle number one, or?
Yep. Principle number one. They found three clusters of data that's predictive of success or failure.
Okay.
One cluster has to do with your friendship. They say
Oh.
that the friendship is the heart of the marriage. As the friendship goes, so goes the marriage. So the first principle is that you need to have good current love maps. And by that they mean you've got to keep current with what's going on in each other's heads. You've got to know them really well
Ah,
and be detailed knowledge and current knowledge. And a lot of times people get married and they're into each other big time, Then they get married and have kids and work and this and that and the other, and they kind of do their separate things, and they are not really current with what each other are feeling, and they feel emotionally disengaged and lonely. And that is the hallmark of big trouble. When you get disengaged and lonely, you're on your way to divorce.
Oh, now what?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. What happens next? I don't know if I like this. Go
Well,
ahead.
the second principle
Ah,
is fondness and admiration. You see, the researchers had to come up with things that they could measure. Okay, if
okay.
we're going to determine the differences between two groups, the ones that are happily married and the ones that are getting
Not.
divorced, we
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to measure everything. So they said, well, we think that they're going to have more detailed knowledge, so we're going to measure that. Okay. Secondly, we believe that there's going to be a difference in how much fondness and admiration they feel toward each other and that they display to each other. They have a lot of it when they get married. At the beginning, they love each other, they're into each other. Okay, how are they doing now in the area of fondness and admiration? And they find that it drops off. They don't say the things they
Interesting.
used to say. They don't use their pet names as much. They just aren't into each other the way they were in knowing what's going on. Be curious what happened today and how are you doing and all these things. No, they've been
Yeah,
busy with work and the kids and everything else. And so fondness and admiration
it's not.
different between the two groups.
Well, how do you keep it that way? How do you keep it fond how do you keep that admiration alive? I'm sure it's probably more of the other
Yeah.
steps. I don't want to jump the gun. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, you're on the right track there, young lady. Is there is a way. You go back to what you did in the first place. You know, you have to keep courting each other
Courtship. I was gonna
out your
courting.
lifetime.
Yes, you taught me about
Throughout
courtship.
your lifetime. You're still taking them out to dinner. You're still checking in
Yeah.
on one at noon, and you're still having little text messages, and you're still talking when you come home about their day. They found that the master couples, the
Yeah.
couple who were really happy and staying together, had a typical little pattern that they recognized in all of them. About 80 or 90% of these people would have a daily debriefing meeting. They call it a stress reducing conversation. They
Oh,
come home after dinner, they'd sit and visit about their day, or they go out and walk around and talk about their day, or sit on the back porch and look at the sunset and talk about the day, or get in the hot
yeah.
tub, or go down to Dairy Queen. But they were not talking about marital problems. They were not talking about money problems. They're just talking about their day. They're best friends. And they could brag to their partner about what they succeeded at, and their partner's proud of them. They can whine about how badly they got treated that day, and the partner's sympathetic. They could tell jokes about what happened at so and so at work or whatever, what
Yeah.
happens on the radio. They were current with each other as people, not just as people that are managing a family together, but they're friends. They're best friends.
Well, I like this idea because you got to stay best friends. And that's always the hardest part. You lose that touch. You lose, that's what I hear from my friends.
Yeah.
I don't know, but all right,
Well,
what
you
about
just get stressed out,
yeah.
there's too much going on. Okay, so the third principle, this is really an important one. They discovered that the big problem in marriage is losing connection. The marriage, the partner, the friendship is the heart of the marriage. We said that.
Okay.
The connecting is the foundation of everything.
Oh,
Okay? The degree to which you connect with each other is the degree to which you know each other, enjoy each other, comfortable with each
okay.
other, talk about, laugh, everything. All that stuff is because you're connected and you connect all the time. Okay, so what do we mean by connect? Well, for one thing, you talk.
Yeah.
You ask questions, and the other person's interested and they answer your question. It's amazing how many times a wife will ask a husband a question and he doesn't even answer. He's reading the paper.
Oof.
Well,
Yeah.
why? Because we focus on one thing at a time. And she's over there making some sound while I'm trying to read over here. You know, and so you got to break through. See, if you really want to connect, you pay attention. When you're dating and you're first together, if they talk, you listen, you know. But now you're in a routine. I'm in my favorite chair. It's time for me to read the paper. I've been at work all day, you know. And so I found out, even with myself, that sometimes I didn't answer my wife when she asked a question.
Ah.
And she said, "Why don't you answer me?" And I said, "Well, I did." She said, "No, no, you didn't. I've got very good ears."
Oh,
And I thought, I answered her in my head. Yes, I've said it in my head.
you're
I
not.
mentioned this
Uh-huh.
to other men. They said, I think I've done that too. And so you got this matter of whether you're responding or not, you know? And so talking is one way you connect, talking and listening, okay? Another way you connect is just by touch. Pat them, hold their hand. Especially women
Aw,
need to be touched. There's actual hormones involved with touch for women that men don't have. And so,
really?
yeah, and so women need just friendship
A
touching,
caress.
just not sexual. You just come up and pat them, put your hand on their shoulder as you talk, you're touching them. And what women hate is when they're just wanting to be talked to and be close and feel touched. They don't want you grabbing their fanny.
Uh-huh. I get it.
Average woman hates it when a man comes up and does a sexual touch when he hasn't been doing normal touches.
Yeah,
It's
I
these
agree.
things are things that different between men and women that a lot of men don't understand, you know? And so, yeah, I forgot the question.
You were on
Oh,
principle three, but now you got me thinking. You're right. I, as a woman, don't like that. I don't want a man coming up and initially wanting to talk about sex or trying to slap me and flirt with me and talk. That's just
yeah,
not,
I know.
yeah,
Women don't like that at all,
no.
unless it's in a very close, loving relationship where you just dig each other, and then it's great. But the last principle is this business of turning toward, turning away,
Okay.
and that has to do with priorities.
Okay.
That has to do not just with touching and talking, but it has to do with how close they feel to you. You see, every time you turn toward your partner and talk to them or do something for them or help them, you are putting money in your emotional bank account as a couple. And you want that emotional bank account to be well fed, a good, strong, high emotional bank account. But every time you don't do that and you turn away, your focus is on the news, your focus on your paper, your focus is on going to the gym, your focus is on going to work, your focus is on this, that, and the other. Your focus is the kids. Anytime that focus is away from the two of you, you're taking some money out of your emotional bank account. And
Yeah.
what you don't realize, it's not long until your emotional bank account is overdrawn.
Very true. Like a
And you're
checking account, but
investing money at
yes.
the gym, you're investing money at work, you're talking to these people at those places, you have relationships, and it's neat. But wife or husband's missing out, and you start feeling disconnected. And that is a very bad feeling.
Really is. We got to keep that connection alive. These are good. I can't believe they were discovered that many years ago and they're still hold true and still exist and
Oh,
still are. Go ahead. Where are we now? Are we on four yet? My goodness.
yeah, yeah, four.
Go for it.
And four is where you get past this business of, I put my note right here. Oh, there it is. Four is shared values and symbols.
Okay.
Uh, Not just saying that's a different four. I had another one over here. Okay, principle four is let your partner influence you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's really important. Let your partner influence you.
Oh.
Okay. Now guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Women receive influence from men better than men receive influence from women.
Yeah.
And if that weren't bad enough, there's a full 30% of men that will not receive influence from a woman,
Ooh.
and they can't stay married longer than 3 years, no matter how studly they are, how rich they are. A woman will not put up with that more than 3 years.
Got it. Ooh. That is
Now,
so true.
let's talk about what we mean by receive influence.
Sure.
Receive influence means when wife talks, I listen. When husband talks,
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
listen. It's not yeah
True.
fun. We got to pay attention to our partner. They are the most important person in my life. I want to know what they think. I want to know how they feel about things. I really am interested in their input. I value their input. I change how I think and how I feel and what I do based on their input. They are really important to me. In fact, I told
Wow.
you the key to a good marriage is make sure your partner knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's no person, thing, or activity more important to me than you are. And
Ah,
that
that is so
goes away
beautiful.
with the years. They don't realize it, but it goes away.
And
Okay.
beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So receiving influence is just hugely important. And it can be changed. All you got to do is know what's going on and change it. It's not wrong. There's nothing about this that's rocket science. Nothing. It's
True.
all common sense. And when you see it in black and white, when they give you the inventory, oh wow, I guess we got to get
Oh,
work on
yeah.
some things. And we tell you what to work on. We help you with it.
Yeah.
It's not hard, but boy, marriages are just languishing because they don't have the information, they don't have the help. Most people don't know who John Gottman is. They know nothing about this research. And it's happened, it lasted for 35 years.
Wow.
And now it's been 10 years since it finished.
Oh my goodness. And is he still alive?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's getting to be.
Jamaican's just asking. Okay.
Of course, we're all kind of getting elderly. I am too, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the first three, and then the next one is let your partner influence you, and we just talked about that, and that is very important. Let me make another couple of comments about that.
Sure.
We find this is really important for men. Men want to initiate, they want to be the leader, you know, and they don't realize it, but sometimes they come across to the wife like a pushy salesman. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk you into something.
It
You know, we need
is,
to
yeah.
invest in this, or we need to go to Hawaii. And even romantic things, I want to talk you into what's going to be the neat thing
That's
to do
right.
rather
That's
than say,
right.
honey, it's getting winter. What do you think would be a good place to go for a vacation this winter? Now, in my
Yeah.
head, I already know what island I want to go to and I just dying to sell you on it. But if I'm smart, I get you as a partner to participate in deciding what we're going to do. And we agree, well, we want to get away from the cold.
Yeah.
Well, it would
Mm-hmm.
be nice to go where there's water. And then pretty soon she said, well, can we go to Hawaii? Yeah, I think we can go to Hawaii.
It's
And what
so true,
and
right?
pretty quick, you agree on Hawaii, and
I
it ends
want
up being a
Hawaii.
better solution than the program you're going to sell because she throws a few nuances in there that you didn't think about.
No.
But on the other hand, if I try to convince you to go to Hawaii, it doesn't feel good. The more I feel like I'm trying to
True.
convince you, the more I try to influence you, the less influence you receive, just like you don't want to receive a lot of influence from a big pushy salesman. Same thing.
It's so
But the
true.
more I receive your influence and ask for it, then the more you receive my influence.
Yeah.
So if I get you involved in this conversation about where we go this winter, then you're interested in what I think. But if
Yeah.
I come right away trying to sell you on something and you're kind of worried about he's going to spend too much money, this, that, or the other thing, you kind of turn south on it. But if I let you be involved from the beginning, then it works better. So
Yeah.
receive influence.
Got it. Perfect. And speaking of influence, you influence so many. Remind us how we contact you since we're at this point. We are on a roll.
Well, some of you have been listening to me for a while and you haven't contacted me yet. And I feel really hurt about that.
As you should, right? Come on, guys and
I'm
gals.
trying to help you guys. Give me a call. It's not hard. 406-370-3515.
Perfect.
And I don't charge you to have a conversation. I've talked to people for a half hour. But just decide when we want to work together. I don't want you to get into something you're not prepared for or you have weird thoughts about or fears about. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I think you can find out I can help you, and I want to help you. Okay,
Mm.
enough of
Go ahead. Go ahead.
that.
We
Okay,
are
then we
up
come to
to, yeah.
the fifth principle. This is really interesting. Solve your solvable problems. We find out that there's two kinds of problems that couples have, solvable and insolvable. Now, this is going to be a shocker. Here it comes. Most of them are unsolvable. In the 65 or 66 percentile of the problems that you fight about are not going to get solved by fighting. They have to do with deep intrinsic differences in your gender,
Yeah.
your background, your financial economic, your cultural, your all these things are there and they make you you. And you have a certain attitude about this or a certain need about that or certain value over here in this, and it's different than the other person.
Mm-hmm.
One of you is really into saving money, and the other one is, what a tightwad you are. Can't you even, and I want to spend money. I
Yeah.
want to go places. I want to get you stuff and whatever. And you are going to have a spender and a saver in almost every marriage, and they're going to fight their whole lifetime unless they get smart about it.
So true, right?
The
Oh
marriage
gosh.
needs both of you.
Yep.
You value your differences.
It
They're
takes two.
complementary. You
Mm-hmm.
don't get mad because they're not like you and want to spend like crazy. You don't
Yeah.
get mad because they're not like you and want to save every nickel.
But
You love each other, you respect each other, and you make compromises. and you don't have problems with it. Once in a while, you kid each other about it. You get on them a little bit, but it's friendly. It's not to start a great big hairy four horsemen of the apocalypse fight.
Yep. Ah,
That's one example. There's lots of examples. Being on time or early versus being on time or late. Usually there's of each. You know, my first wife, bless her heart, I loved her dearly. We were a good, happy couple for 46 years, but she went everywhere late, and I went everywhere early.
oh, I'm one
That
of
was
the,
hard. That was hard. We'd get together in some, about 50% of the time we're okay, but it kept going one way or the other.
yeah.
You just, uh,
That is
but you
funny.
don't have a great big fight that's going to end your marriage over it.
No. Uh-uh.
You know,
Uh-uh.
some people
No.
eat different food. They eat different ways. I was taught exactly how you're supposed to hold the fork and the spoon and how you're supposed to do it. Okay. But maybe your partner has some influence from Europe and they use
They're
the knife
different.
and do different things different ways and they use different hands and they do
Ah,
all kinds of stuff.
or they chew
And
with their mouth open. It's okay. We can teach.
yeah, that's all that stuff. And you're just kind of embarrassed because why are you doing that? But that's different. It's just different. And it's not bad. They don't have
Yeah.
to be like me. They don't have to be like you, you know?
It's so funny you said that. Oh my gosh, it's really true.
And then the other solvable problems, the solvable problems are things that have to do with scheduling or if things do, you have options and you consider that, oh, well, we could do Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So those are solvable. The
Yep.
unsolvable are just your character issues. Now, you're going to become more like each other living together,
True.
but as long as you harp on the difference, you're not get more like each other, get more less like each other.
Yeah.
So you don't get closer by trying to fix the difference that's been there their whole lifetime. You work on the stuff you can solve.
Ah, it's
How we
so
can do
true.
this or how we do that, it's just talk about it, negotiate it. It's pretty painless. But the
Yeah.
stuff that's painless, you know, the folks that have what we call gridlock issues, that is issues that don't go away and you fight
Mm-hmm.
about them over and over and don't make any headway.
Same thing. Yep.
Okay. Now, everybody has unsolvable problems. But the
Okay.
master couples do not have gridlock. Why? Because they understand what they are, they accept each other, and they don't have
Yeah.
to think about it. Okay, I think I've harped about that enough times.
I know, but we have. There's so much. There's only 4 minutes left in the show. We gotta move a little faster. We have a lot to get through, right? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Well, maybe the
Oh,
seventh.
we're doing
Not
pretty
really.
good.
We're good. We're good. We got this. Go ahead.
We got a fifth thing. The sixth one is overcome gridlock, which is the next one. I said
Oh, you just
solve
said
the
that.
solvable
Okay.
problems. Then you overcome gridlock
Okay.
by talking about why certain positions are so important to you.
Okay.
If I tell you as a family when I was young how short the money was and how critical it was
Ah,
to save, then I can understand, man, I can understand that's really important to you. I grew up in a really wealthy family and got lots of money for allowance and got big, nice things. Even gave me a car when I was in high school. Well,
uh,
that's different. No wonder it's hard. So when I get into her shoes and understand what it was like for her, then I recognize she gets anxious when the money gets going out too fast. And I love her and I don't want her anxious because I understand why. So we have the dream within the conflict intervention that we go through that helps each of you get into your background beliefs and experiences to why certain things are so important to you, why certain things are scary or are dangerous. And then things get easier.
hmm.
So that's the sixth one. The final one is to create shared meaning. And the shared meaning thing is, you just have to understand that you got to get together on what's important. Okay, so you come out of your little subculture called your family, and she comes out of her little subculture called her family, and we're not going to do it exactly the way either of those subcultures were, right? Now, when you have really strong attachments to your parents and you think they're right about everything, maybe you were an only kid and you were with the two of them and you're just part of a tight-knit little threesome, you want everything to be the way it was. Now
Mm-hmm.
you marry a gal that's from a family of 5 kids and things were different. Well, that's a whole different subculture.
Yeah.
See? So now you work on rituals of connection, for example, and ways that you can connect with each other on a regular basis so you feel close to each other. Um, but this business of you know connecting is really important. You got to create shared meaning, overcome the gridlock, and then create shared meaning. And that part is really important. You do that by discussing things.
Mm-hmm.
What's okay? What are your important things you like to do? Maybe she wants to work out more often than you do, or vice versa. Or maybe she wants to read more than you do. Or
Yep.
maybe she likes music more than you do. Or maybe he wants to go on a marathon, and you can't even imagine going to a marathon, running in a marathon. Okay,
All
so
right.
you begin to adjust to each other. You support each other's dreams, even though they're not yours. You work on the things that you want to do together, but you build your life together by understanding more about each other and supporting each other more and not being into your thing versus their thing. Some couples, the older they get, the more they just want to do their own thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
bad. That's
Got it.
not good.
Well, we're going to have to wrap up and talk more about the 4 pillars and everything next time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. How did we end off for today?
Yeah, I think we had a good time. I hope
Oh,
so.
as always, thank you so much. But we're going to talk more about John Gottman's. I want to get to the 4 pillars and we'll just do a quick review of the 7. We'll just mention them quickly if you don't mind. We'll highlight them and then talk about the end of it. Again, how do we reach out to you?
Yeah, Jim Ramsey, mt@gmail.com. And next time I'll also talk about Susan Johnson and emotion focused therapy. That's also part of what I do.
All
So
right.
I just want you to understand what's out there. This is all research-based work that you can get help from.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here. Aletheia Marriage Counseling. Just Google his name. He pops up. And Jim Ramsey, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much. Or
Thank
James
you.
Ramsey.
Good
Bye bye.
talking to you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.